Hello, hello. I'm Jon Binnie, and I've been asked today in my work as spiritual mentor and teacher, been asked by one of my students as part of the Higher Self Foundational Training. I've been asked to answer some questions about what is the best thing to do as you continue to raise your vibrations. What's the best thing to do in terms of the food that you consume? And I'm also going to expand that question out to food and drink, and then really also anything that you consume. But we're going to start with food. Okay, so let's start with some founding principles. So quite simply, this is an energy first universe. And that means that everything in this universe has energy. And it's also on a spectrum. So it's on a spectrum from the darkest darkness to the lightest light and everything in between. And so when we go ahead and consume something, everything that we consume is somewhere on that spectrum. And when we consume that energy, so let's say if we were to consume an apple comes to mind. So let's say we consume like the darkest, most like evil, horrible apple in the universe. And it was like from this kind of horrible, like, lowest levels of hell, like this apple. And it was like on fire and it was black and it was icky and sticky. And you ate that apple. What do you think happens to that energy? That energy is then absorbed by your body and by you. So doing that is a really, well, depends what you choose, but I would think that's a bad idea. And then the same is true on the opposite end. Imagine from the highest of realms of heaven, like the highest dimension of this universe, the highest state of love, that an apple was born, like the best, most beautiful tasting apple in the world, in the universe, and you plucked that apple and you ate it, you would fill your body with that energy of that apple. And so there's not a compartmentalization just because it like manifests as an apple. It's still energy. It's energy first, and then second, it's energy manifested as physical matter as an apple. And it's funny because you think, oh, well, apples are cool, right? But, and they are for the majority of the time, but it's just a useful analogy to think that there's this energy that you consume from the thing that's in it. And then you then consume it into your body and it has an effect on you. Okay. Now there's one more thing I need to share about some of these founding principles are, if you are on a journey of ascension, of continuing to raise your vibrations up, if you're doing that hard in a work, you're doing like your things like your daily meditation, you're facing your shadows, you're doing your inner work and doing your healing, you're like facing those doors of fear and stepping through them and exploring like your new dream life each day, like you're doing all the things. If you're doing this, chances are you're also raising your vibrations. And what happens to our bodies is that as we raise our vibrations, we shift the ability we shift ourselves on this frequency spectrum. And so let's say, trying to show my hands. So let's say it's like the darkest is here and then the lightest is here, from my left to right. On the darkest, on the left side, if your body's used to consuming, if that's the only fuel your body's used to getting, then your body will likely stay down at that level of frequency to be able to be a frequency match and consume that as safely as possible. And then if you shift yourself higher, so let's say you shift yourself to the middle and you've actually done a lot of work, you've got great, physical and mental and spiritual practices, and your body has like continued to raise some vibrations, then your tolerance for the low vibration food is suddenly much, much lower. You're going to really struggle to like eat that evil apple that we were talking about. And it would have a far greater impact, negative impact against you if you were to eat it. And then continues up if you go all the way to the right, higher and higher in your vibration, you're going to really struggle with the lower vibrational food. Okay, let's talk actual food. So, first of all, these questions. The original question was from Mark. Hello to Mark. Thank you for asking. Really excited to be sharing this. And on that journey to answer Mark's question, I also asked some friends. So first of all, shout out to Kelly Ferguson, psychic medium, who's an incredible soul. Go and follow her on Instagram and Facebook. And so Kelly, I was chatting with her, and her suggestion is like thinking about first of all, like the categories of food that we eat. So she was saying if it's not, if it didn't grow in the ground, and if it wasn't like born from a tree, or if it didn't have a mother, like if it was meat, if it didn't have a mother, then don't eat it. And I think that's a really interesting way of looking at some of the categorization of food. So in that discussion, we also discussed like, well, that's really hard to really know, what happened with the food that, where did it come from? What energy does it have? Like, was it in the ground or a tree, or did it have a mother? And then you realize that you end up in a situation of like discerning this for yourself. And big part of discernment is knowing like some more facts, right? So the very practical things you can do is if you're used to shopping at supermarkets, check are there pesticides? Is it organic? Like, how is it farmed? How is it produced? And then think a bit about the energy about that too. There's actually energetic reasons why it's a good idea. For example, to not have, I'd argue it's better to have chickens that are free range as opposed to, certainly what I've witnessed here in Scotland, free range versus like battery farming, because the energy of a chicken that is free range and its eggs will be much freer. And in Scotland, a short funny story is a place where we used to camp regularly with the kids. Nearby, there's this huge like free range chicken farm, and you could go there, and the chickens always thought that you were feeding them. That there must have been like thousands of chickens all in this huge field. And what you do is you just you could go to like the end of the fence and kind of start making like chicken noises or human noises, and this army of chickens would, with this really like deep kind of almost like symbiotic voice, would start excitedly coming over to you. And it was initially, we found it quite intimidating, but then we realized that actually they loved it. They loved being outside, loved the sunshine. I'm not saying that like that's a better life than being free. But at the same time, these chickens were just really, really happy. So that was really beautiful to witness. And so there's like these like variations of the energy and frequency of the produce, whether it's meat, whether it's vegetables. I think another reflection I had was before my awakening, and when I used to eat meat, I used to love fast food. I used to love, McDonald's and Burger King. And then I also, more recently, would still eat things like plant-based burgers from something like the McPlant in McDonald's. And, there are other chains are available, of course. And for me, like, I still felt like it was maybe not an amazing idea to eat, but I felt like it was, for me, my choice of not to eat meat. It felt better. It felt higher vibration. But I must admit, for the times, and I haven't eaten it for some time now, but for the times that I ate it, I would still like have these like stomach pains afterwards. And I was thinking like, what is it? Like, why is that? And so if I then just talk a little bit more about myself, just 1 second. It's very dry and very hot in my studio, so I'll keep this short. But when I start now to eat like lower vibration food, especially like high sugar content, I struggle. Like I struggle with digestion. At night, I find it hard to sleep because my stomach, like my digestive system, is unsettled. And if I give an example of what I ate last night, what did I have? So we did go to McDonald's. I did have some fries. That's all. And then I had 3 pita breads with cheese. So I'm pescatarian, so I eat fish and vegetables. And things like cheese. But and what else did I have? Oh, my daughter had made cookies, and so I had a cookie, and she was like, she didn't give me a huge amount of choice to eat it or not. That's no defense. It was still my choice to eat it. But I felt pretty rough afterwards. Like almost immediately, my body was like, "What did you just consume?" And I was thinking, so what? Like, what's really the worst thing there? Like one homemade cookie, and some McDonald's fries. And they're like yeah, like if you're so on the frequency of the kind of food chain, if you think about the highest frequency food, things like imagine growing your own vegetables and fruit in your garden, and then every day you like went out there and filled it with your love, like you sang to it, you filled it with love energy. That would have an effect, a real effect on the consumption of that food. Like it would taste amazing, feel amazing, energetically would be great, especially as your vibrations continue to rise. But we don't all have gardens. We don't all have, the money to have a huge choice or even access to food. But we can still eat consciously. And I think that was like the first thing I've learned is to really be discerning about what you eat. And so the first thing you can do when you're eating is, and I've seen you can look on YouTube and see lots of people doing lots of different things. Like one thing you can do is hold. So I've got, this is a metal mug with coffee in it. And yes, I love coffee. But you can hold it to the body part that consumes it. So you can hold it to your solar plexus, to your stomach here, and just ask the question, is this good for me? And I'm just hearing, it's okay for now. Sometimes it does cause some problems. And it's like my body's saying, I get that it's your vice at the moment, John, that you consume it just now, but that in time I should look to wean myself off it. I'm like, no, I have so few vices left. So I don't drink alcohol. I'm giving up, I barely eat any snacks. Almost none, and coffee's next, right? And I think that's also a really important mindset shift for me, which is the highest vibration version of me only consumes things that are high vibration, and that it continues to allow my vibrations to increase. And so it's that part of that ascension journey. All these good things come with it, right? You get increased psychic abilities, you get increased sensitivity, clarity, calmness, zen-like states, joy, all these things are great. So there's great reward with this sacrifice. The other good news is you can, we know the scientific evidence in modern science, we know for a fact that you can sing to plants and stuff and it makes them happy, right? And they grow better. Okay, so it's not surprising to think that if you then eat that plant that you've been singing to all the time, okay, it's a shame because you've lost your audience, but you'll get to eat it and eat its energy and raise your vibrations. For practices that you can do when you don't have much of a choice about your food, or you're a bit like me and maybe you're stuck with a bit of a vice for now and you're like, oh, I still want to drink my coffee or I still want to eat those snacks. My first recommendation is just try and be conscious. First of all, make that conscious decision. Don't sleepwalk into it. Look at what you're eating, look at what's on the packet, what you're buying in a supermarket or a shop, what you're thinking of growing yourself. and try that technique of like holding it against your body. And the same applies to drink as well. And then for just before you're about to consume it, you can imagine like bring down this column of golden light from the highest dimension of source above and bring it into your heart and your hands, and then blast out that love energy. And really you're blessing your food and your drink, and you can fill it with your love energy. And what that does is you can encourage that dark energy to be removed from what you're about to consume. And then you can like fill this food, this drink with this beautiful high vibration love energy. And so that's what you consume. Certainly less of the lower energy, vibration energy will be there. Do I remember to do that all the time? Not really. Am I aware of it? Yes. And the times I do it, yes, I think it does feel good. So I certainly first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I drink some water. Often it's the same water that's been left overnight. You can get like copper, like drink bottles that are really good for like preserving the water overnight and feeling really good and protecting it energetically. But just before you drink anything, like fill it with that love, fill it with your love. And then same with drink, think about things in particular like sugar content, caffeine, anything that, in the short term feels good, but in the medium and long term is probably not great for you. Be aware of these things as you're consuming food, and where you can, like stick to, a high vibrational fruits and vegetables. Raw vegetables are great for you as well. And just be aware of the other produce that you have. Think about where it comes from. Think about the energy that's in it. Feel that energy when you're about to eat it, and fill it just before you eat it. Like fill it with beautiful love energy. And then one more thing. In terms of eating meat, like that's your decision, right? Whether you're vegan or a carnivore or like whatever you decide, that's your choice. I personally choose not to eat meat because my belief is that when you kill an animal, and it goes through that trauma, the trauma of that event is stored in its meat, in its being. And so that's what you're consuming. You're consuming the traumatic energy of an animal. Not all animals are killed in the same way. Not all animals will go through that fear and anxiety, on the build up to being slaughtered. And I do believe that there's places, including here in Scotland, where there's just a huge difference in the love and care of those animals prior to their death, and that all makes a big difference. I just choose to discern and say, look, I don't really need it in my diet, and so I'm okay not to eat it. I still eat fish. Do fish feel trauma before they're killed? Probably. For me, it was just like one categorization of being able to say, okay, like I'm not going to blindly sleepwalk into eating meat. I didn't realize until recently that meat is meat products is in so many things, including like, at least here in Scotland, like it'll be present in, loads of sweets like gelatine, and also marshmallows and all these things. So it's like, just be really careful, be discerning about what you consume, read the packets. Okay, thank you for your patience with me drinking coffee when I've got a dry throat and I just want to cough the whole time. But yeah, it's a real honor to share this with you, and I hope that it helps. I'd love to hear your advice as well. One more shout out. Gemma Sandwell we were chatting on TikTok live yesterday, and she was saying when you're eating snacks. So snacks, for instance, I tend to now go for fruit first, or like Kelly Ferguson was also saying, like think about alkaline. So think about like lemon water just before you go to bed, like perhaps like it could be hot drink with lemon in it, or just water with lemon in it. And then the same You can also, she also recommended apple cider vinegar, and lemon, was it? I don't know, but I've not really tried those, but that's up to you if you want to try those. And then you can also like have lemon water in the morning, like is a great way of getting you started. And yeah, Gemma was suggesting like as snacks, like I love peanuts as a snack, but you know, too many and I feel really bloated, like they're really heavy. But Gemma was suggesting like she'd got beetroot, chopped it up, lightly oiled it, and then put it in an air fryer, and that was like, air fryers are fantastic. And said that was a really like crunchy, tasty snack. So yeah, there's lots of these different things that you can explore and try yourself. And I'd love to hear what you do. Like tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear back, or DM me, let me know, and maybe we'll do a follow up to this. I am not a nutritionist, as you can tell, but I am more of an expert in energy, and I would love to hear more about how that energy is manifested in this world. So thank you for watching, and I'm sending so much love from Scotland. Take care. Love you.